You have the same look in your eyes that I feel like I've seen in my eyes, but I don't feel it. You feel.
And what's that?
Sadness.
Before we get into today's video, I did want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Hope everybody is having a wonderful summer. I know I am, but it's been super busy. So how has y'all's summer been? So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a little bit of an older story / case that has come up in the media here again recently for some reason or another. But before we get into it though, I want to ask y'all a question. Do any of y'all have any pacts or something like that with your spouse, with your husband or your wife? I'm just going to talk about husband because I'm married to my husband. Do you have any deals or things that y'all have sat down and talked about that both of you guys agree on no matter what? I have a few of them with my husband. One of them, for example, is something on the lines of, if one of us was to pass away, the other one would take care of the other one's family members. So if God forbid something happened to me, I would always take care of his family and his parents in any way that I could. I wouldn't just, go the other way. And as far as my family as well, which consists of not many people, but he would still take care and help them. That's a pact that we have. We have other pacts as well, or, understandings. I know me and my husband talk a lot about what happens if one of us passes, what are our wishes? And we have those conversations, and I believe that we mean them, and they're very serious to us. So do y'all have any pacts like that with your spouse about, things that are very important to you guys while y'all are in your relationship, or maybe even, after? Keep that in mind for this video. So in today's video, we're mainly going to be talking about a woman named Kelly and the love triangle that she got into with her husband and this other guy that she met. So let me just start off by telling you about Kelly and her husband. So 35-year-old Kelly Cochran and her husband, Jason Cochran, were both born and raised in a small town in Maryville, Indiana. But in 2014, they both moved to Iron River, Michigan. Kelly and Jason actually grew up together. They went to high school together, and that's where they became high school sweethearts. And after graduating in 2002, they got married. Now, let me start off with saying that we all hear the stories of high school sweethearts. Maybe some of y'all are with your high school sweethearts, and the bond that there is with people that have been together for a long time, especially when you're younger and you kind of grow up together in that way. And there's just a serious bond that happens when you're high school sweethearts like that. And it was no different between Kelly and now her husband, Jason. And when I tell y'all, Jason was in love with Kelly. Kelly and Jason, from the outside looking in, appeared to just be two people that had that young puppy love in high school, made it work, got married, grew together, moved around together, got jobs together, and now they're in their older years together, and they just seem like a really loving, long-term couple. However, behind closed doors, they had a different side to them. As a matter of fact, Jason and Kelly made a pact together on their wedding night that if either one of them ever stepped outside of the marriage, that they would go and find that person and take care of them. And again, from the outside, they were living this seemingly normal life. They both worked really hard and they paid their bills and they had different friends and they would go out to eat and things were just chucking along normally until, Jason threw his back out at work one day. See, Jason had a job servicing swimming pools, and when he injured his back, that's when things really started to change in the marriage. Kelly would go on to get a job at a factory manufacturing ship parts, and while she was there, she would meet a bunch of different people that worked in the same factory as her. Kelly, working in the factory, was part of a very small group of women who was surrounded by a lot of men. And in this group of men, she met a guy named Chris. Chris Regan also worked manufacturing ship parts when he met Kelly and was smitten by her. Chris was actually an Air Force veteran who was studying to get his business degree while working at this factory. I saw interviews between Chris and his on-again, off-again long-term girlfriend named Terry. Now, Terry said that she had met Chris when she was very young and she fell in love with him. She was absolutely head over heels in love with Chris, would do anything for him, loved him so much. Chris even rented his apartment from Terry's parents. However, Terry would go on to say that she found out that Chris had an addiction to looking at things online, naughty things online, and it really bothered her. She basically said that she would keep catching him looking at stuff online. It made her uncomfortable. She didn't like that. And she was also going to work overseas. Now, one time when she went working overseas is when she said that she caught Chris hooking up with another woman. So not only was she uncomfortable with the stuff that he was looking at online, but now he's actually allegedly acting it out while she's gone. And she said she had no choice but to break up with him, but she loved him. She stayed friends with him. She talked to him every day. She really wanted to continue to be with him, but she was hoping that he was going to get this little problem that he had straightened out. Terry even took Chris to have his knee surgery after they broke up and coordinated all of his doctor's appointments. I mean, she really took care of him. Chris still had this wandering eye, and when he got around Kelly, it was like fireworks. Now, it would later be found out that Kelly would go over to Chris's apartment and say that she would cook him dinner. So she would go over to his house while her husband was at home, and she would cook him dinner and she would serve him dessert, is the way that she would put it. And so she began to have an affair with Chris while her husband was back at home. And Terry really didn't have any idea either. Although they were broken up, she was still in contact. But then Kelly's husband found out. And I want y'all to remember that pact that we talked about in the beginning. So Kelly's husband finds out and he reminds her of the pact that they made. And she agrees that, well, we made this pact, so I guess we got to do what we got to do. On October 14th of 2014, Kelly told Chris her husband wasn't home and asked him if he wanted to come over to her house. This is when she told Chris, hey, husband's not home. I want you to come over. I'm going to make you an Italian dinner. I'm going to make you lasagna from scratch, and I'm going to serve myself for dessert. Chris said yes, and he drove over to her house. This is the first time he had ever been to her house. And he went in the door, he took a right, he went upstairs with her, and he began to be intimate with her. This is when her husband, Jason, came into the door with a firearm and fired one shot, and it hit him in the head. After Chris was no longer alive, this is when the both of them took his body down to the basement, and at around 2 a.m., the neighbors heard power tools going. Very loud power tools going at 2 a.m. for a long time. They took the remains, the bits and pieces that was left of Chris, to a park and scattered them all over the place where nobody really went. However, Kelly and Jason didn't notice that there was a handwritten note with directions to their home left behind in Chris's car. Terry, Chris's ex-girlfriend, the one that pretty much did everything for him and loved him so much, started to worry about Chris when she hadn't heard from him and found out that he hadn't showed up for work. Chris had just recently accepted a job offer in Asheville, North Carolina, and he and Terry were supposed supposed to go out and celebrate. After 2 weeks of not hearing from him, Terry went to his apartment and discovered it was a mess, but all of his stuff was there, like his medications from his knee surgery. Then when Terry heard that Chris's car had been sitting at a park and ride, she instantly knew that something was wrong and went straight to the police to file a missing persons report. While the cops were searching for Chris's car, they discovered the handwritten note that led them straight to Kelly and Jason. When investigators questioned Kelly and Jason about Chris's disappearance, Kelly admitted to having an affair with him but denied knowing anything about his disappearance. However, when the police asked Kelly why Chris's car would be abandoned at the park and ride, she said she had no clue because Chris loved that car. This was an immediate red flag for the police because she said loved in the past tense. However, and get this, when the cops went into the house, they could not find a shred of evidence in their vehicles, in their cars, on their property that belonged to Chris. Nothing, not one thing could they find when they went in there to search, and they went in there to search. And so after that, the case went completely cold. Now, rumors started to spread in that little town, and people started talking about little things that they had going on. As a matter of fact, one of the couple's friends said that they were at dinner with Kelly and Jason one night, and Kelly told Jason to show him the guy that they were with dinner with and said, "This is what I did for my husband." So there was rumors going around in the town, like, wait a minute, they doing things in secret, right? They got things going on. And so because of all of this, they started to receive backlash, and this is when they moved out of town. But then in 2016, the police received a 911 call from Kelly saying that Jason had OD'd on H.
Wake County 911. He's bleeding barely. I don't know what's wrong. He's throwing up. He's sweating.
When EMTs arrived, this is when they found Jason apparently deceased from an OD from H. At least that's what Kelly said. Now, they said that she was really frantic and nervous and, you know, all in the paramedics' ways. They said it was almost like she was overacting, but I mean, I don't know how they would judge that other than the fact that they're professionals, but that she seemed a little bit too, like, upset, which I don't understand that, but nevertheless, that's what they said. After being examined by the medical examiner, it was ruled that Jason didn't pass from an OD, but asphyxiation. So then it was assumed that Kelly had intentionally given Jason a lethal dose of H and then smothered him to make sure he was gone. And at this point, a warrant went out for Kelly and she was a fugitive on the run. However, it didn't take long for investigators to track her phone to Wingo, Kentucky, where she was arrested by the U.S. Marshals on April 29th. Once Kelly was in custody, she started to be interviewed by a certain detective who, you guys, she fell in love with, y'all. She fell in love with this guy. She was like, just watch the video.
What's your dynamic then with Kelly?
You know, initially just to make her want to come talk to me.
How do you do that?
I left something to be said. She needs to go away, and we'll see if she comes back on her own.
Why did you choose to continue to talk to me? Did you think I was weak?
No.
Did you think I was vulnerable?
The vulnerability you can see in your eyes, but that's not why.
So then why?
Some people fascinate me. I don't put myself with anybody that I haven't looked into or that I don't know at least a little bit about.
Okay, so can you explain to me then?
You fascinate me.
No, not a good answer.
But you do.
Okay, but why? What has happened to me or my life that fascinates you?
You can see it in your eyes.
What about it?
You have the same look in your eyes that I feel like I've seen in my eyes, but I don't feel it. You feel.
And what's that?
Sadness.
The detective saw this and used this to his advantage to get Kelly to confess to ending her own husband's life. And since she was already busted in that situation, later, eventually, she would confess to the murder of Chris as well. And she even made an agreement with the authorities to take them to where they had scattered Chris's remains.
I guess you have to be crazy. Shoot me if I do.
What would the biggest piece of bone be that you, I mean, torso, and that was here.
Yeah.
So then we should find ribs, and I think that generally
The skull should be the biggest, though.
How do you
Cheese pizza.
just cheese? There you go. Cheese pizza.
Maybe a soda.
Jason pulled him into here, and I from what you were telling me, around in this area, and that's where he cut him out.
There you go.
You're saying you use those?
Yep. They're clean, though.
Kelly says she used them to try and remove the bullet from Chris's skull. In the field, cops found Chris's glasses and then Chris's skull with a big bullet hole.
Did y'all see how like cool, calm, and collected she was during that? Like she was ordering pizza and chilling and like finding skull pieces, just completely bizarre. And what makes that even more bizarre to me is the fact that afterwards she tried to tell authorities that it was all her husband. She didn't want Chris to pass away. She didn't want them to do that to him. It was all her husband Jason and I don't know about that. Now this is the worst part, okay? After Kelly was locked up, this is when seemingly the true evil that was deep within Kelly started to be revealed. And in an interview/documentary that Investigation Discovery did on this situation, they began to interview the neighbors of the couple. And this is when they told them that the neighbors had attended a barbecue shortly after Chris's death at Jason and Kelly's house. One of the neighbors even said that the burger tasted very strange and that looking back, they believe that was human meat in that burger. Kelly also claimed in interviews to other murders. And the police chief at the time said that she thinks that Kelly is responsible for at least 5. Kelly pled not guilty after she was charged with Chris's murder, and her case went to trial, and she testified in her own defense, saying that Jason was the one that did that to Chris. But nevertheless, Kelly was convicted and received a life sentence.
And go read it, please.
Count number 1, open murder, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, aiding and abetting.
Then in 2018, she pled guilty and received 65 years for the OD of her husband, Jason. And I just think she was evil. I think she's demonic, and I think that what Chris had going on latched into what she had going on, and it was death and destruction. And it's scary. Have y'all heard about that? Do you think that it's possible that those burgers tasted funny for another reason? I wouldn't put it past her. I would not put it past her. Now, they do say that it tastes like pork. If he said that the hamburgers tasted like pork, I would say that's it for sure. But if just because he said it tasted funny, I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Y'all let me know in the comment section down below. Other than that, I love y'all. Thank y'all for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.